My dear family, there is a passage from a letter of St. Paul in Scriptures that says the following. St. Paul says in the Bible, how can someone among you say that there is no resurrection? If there is no resurrection, empty is our preaching, empty is our faith. Or in other words, what St. Paul is saying in that passage is that if we do not believe that Christ has risen from the dead, my preaching is in vain. Your faith is in vain. You being here today means nothing. If it did not rise from the dead, you should not be here. Christianity is a lie. You should not believe in it. They'll go contrary to your own conscience. St. Paul's words are cutting and extremely clear. Our faith is based on the Paschal mystery of Christ. What on earth is Paschal and what on earth is mystery? The Paschal mystery of Christ refers to Christ's passion, Christ's death, and Christ's resurrection from the dead. We believe that Christ, yes, suffered in his passion. We also believe that Christ, yes, died on the cross. And yes, we believe that Christ also rose from the dead. That is the Paschal mystery, passion, death, resurrection. We celebrated that during the Triduum, Holy Thursday, Good Friday, and the Easter Vigil that moves into today's Sunday. In fact, St. Peter, the first Pope, he tells us even an extension to St. Paul's words. He tells us in his letters in Scriptures, he says that we should always be ready to give a reason for our hope. Later on, he tells us that the reason for our hope is the resurrection. If it is not clear yet, the resurrection for a Catholic is a big deal. If, for whatever reason, there is scientific proof that someone found the body of Christ, you should not be Catholics. At least you should be Jewish. Why? Because we believe his body is not with us anymore. His body has risen from the dead. St. Paul tells us that if we do not actually believe this, then in vain is your faith. In vain is your prayer. In vain is your belief. St. Peter adds that the only reason for our hope is the resurrection. In other words, there is no hope if there is no resurrection. The resurrection from the dead is so important for a Catholic that the whole Triduum celebrates the Paschal mystery, passion, death, resurrection. And then today, Easter Sunday, we dedicate it for another 8 weeks. We call this the Easter season. We dedicate all of those weeks to his resurrection, the rising from the dead. The Lord is no longer in the tomb. His body is no longer on earth, has resurrected and remains only in the Eucharist. The Gospels speak about that. The Gospels are basically just biographies from witnesses that saw this mystery. The Gospels are biographies of the life of Jesus. And today's Gospel, the Gospel of John, today's biography of the life of Jesus tells us that the first account of the resurrection was Mary Magdalene. She went there to the tomb in darkness. Now imagine the scene. Back then there were no street lights. There was no electricity. So when it says that she went there in darkness, it is dark, very dark. She probably could not see most of where she was walking on. At most, she probably had an oil lamp. Then she arrives to Jesus' place of burial and finds it empty. She was expecting to find Jesus dead. But the stone was rolled over. And the first thought that she came up with was that someone stole him. Many times we too may pray or may believe as if Jesus is still in the tomb. As if the tomb is still filled or full, or that the body is still there. We may go there in the middle of the darkness of our souls, in the middle of the darkness of our life, in the middle of the darkness of our suffering, and go there at a dark hour. In fact, it's so dark that the tiny little light of hope that you may have in your soul means nothing. You cannot see much. You can barely see where you're going. Your hope is slowly diminishing. You cannot see well. Yet you arrive at the tomb, and we think that we will find him there. We think that he may be still there because he is not listening. He doesn't listen to my prayers. He doesn't care because of my sufferings, because of my pain, because of what I'm going through. He must still be there. Or we may start asking ourselves, where are you? Did someone steal you from my life? Why is it that you're not in the tomb? Our hope is darkened with our suffering, and we think that he is still in the tomb. But the truth is that we do not believe that his body is still in the tomb. The truth is that we believe that he is alive, that he is risen truly and indeed, the firstborn from the dead. His body is no longer in the tomb. He is no longer dead. He has risen. Sometimes we just need to have the heavy stones of our own tombs be rolled to the side so that we may be able to see clearly. So that we may realize that he has not been stolen from our lives, that no one has broken into, that the burial cloths are neatly folded to the side. If that is the case, it means that no one broke in. Why would someone break in and fold the cloth and leave it neatly set? It may mean something else. It may mean that he is risen, that he's no longer dead. That was just the first report from Mary Magdalene. Then after Mary Magdalene, or Mary of Magdala, which is a city, after her report, there are more than 3,000 accounts of seeing Jesus appear to others after his death. And it says that he ate meals with them. In other words, my dear family, for us Catholics, the rising of the dead is important. And because it is important, our faith is based in that. If we do not believe in that, in vain is my preaching. In vain I am a priest. In vain you're here. In vain is our faith. But we do believe in that. Mary Magdala believed in that. More than 3,000 accounts of seeing him rising from the dead believed in that. Countless of martyrs, disciples, and apostles died because they believed in that. They were given the option to deny his resurrection, and they did not. Why? Because our faith is based in his resurrection. Because we believe he has risen from the dead. His body is no longer in the tomb. His body is risen, truly and indeed. My dear family, is that your faith? Is that our faith? Is that where we have placed our love? Is that where we have placed our hope? Or, my dear family, I pray this is not the case, but if it is, I pray that we come to see the light. Is this just a yearly requirement to keep the name Catholic?